Because there is no argument here. There's just the sugar rush that the no contact people get from never coming in second in a I hate Trump the most contest. Really? That's your strategy, to go full high school and tell the guy with all the power he can't sit with you at the lunch table? To borrow a phrase familiar to HBO viewers, you are not serious people. Perpetuating victimhood, especially when it's false, is not a great advertisement for leadership. Kamala Harris's new memoir of the 24 election is called 107 Days, but it should have been called Everyone Sucks But Me. 107 Days is a victim's title because, get it, she only had 107 days to win. Yeah, and $1.5 billion and a built-in army of about 75 million people who'd vote for any human-adjacent life form that wasn't Trump.
Bill Maher has turned on his own side, calling out what he sees as their delusions, and it's wild. The host of Real Time with Bill Maher argues that the Democratic National Committee can't win national elections anymore unless they abandon the woke agenda. He says their strategies feel outdated, their policies struggle to connect with many Americans, and their politics have become increasingly divisive. His critique was sharp, biting, and brutal, so hit the like button and let's get into it now.
But as it is so late in the game, let's just go right to the granddaddy of bargains now. The left will seriously quash all their loony woke shit, and the right will stop the slide into autocracy. That's really the only card left to play. Because the basic problem we have in America is conservatives think the liberals are insane, and they're not completely wrong. Now, I don't think most liberals are insane, but neither do they make it clear they disapprove of the ones who are, and their cowardice in not marginalizing their own crazies has been their downfall.
Bill Maher opened by pointing out what he sees as a glaring issue within the liberal camp. Not everyone is fully woke, yet too few are willing to clearly distance themselves from that faction. According to Maher, that silence has become a problem in itself when prominent figures like Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, and Nancy Pelosi consistently avoid challenging more extreme voices. It creates the impression of agreement. Maher argues that perception matters in politics, and by failing to push back, they've allowed critics to label the entire party as woke. In his view, that association has alienated moderate voters and weakened the party's broader appeal. Instead of drawing clear lines, he believes they've blurred them, and that confusion, more than anything, has contributed to what he sees as the party's ongoing struggles.
I couldn't get Neil deGrasse Tyson, a genius scientist and preeminent scientific voice in the media, to agree that it was ridiculous for Scientific American and The Atlantic to be claiming that separating sports by sex doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Actually, it makes perfect sense. And it's obvious that it does.
And that's the crux of the problem. According to Bill Maher, you now have prominent scientists and voices on the left quietly supporting parts of the woke agenda, even when those claims don't fully align with established evidence. Instead of pushing back with clear, data-driven arguments, many choose to stay silent, or worse, go along with it. Maher suggests this isn't about agreement, but fear. The risk of backlash, lost opportunities, public criticism, or being targeted online has created an environment where challenging certain ideas feels professionally dangerous. As a result, what could have been corrected through open debate and scientific discussion gets reinforced instead. In his view, that dynamic has allowed less widely accepted ideas to gain traction, not because they are accurate, but because too few influential voices are willing to confront them directly when it actually matters.
A lot of stuff like that on the left, and when conservatives see it, they say, I'm sorry, we're just not going to go along with reinventing society, often pointlessly, even if we have to cancel democracy to do it. That's what they're saying. They see gender as only a construct and sex is assigned at birth, and they say, we're not doing that. Transing kids by self-diagnosis with no age limit, no parental notification, and no acknowledgement of social contagion, not doing it. Asylum now covers any reason for anyone to come to America, not doing it. Homelessness is a lifestyle, Natural immunity doesn't count anymore. Whiteness is toxic. Penises in women's prisons. Welcoming the Intifada. We're not doing it.
All of that, as Bill Maher lays it out, simply doesn't add up. He argues that many of these ideas are being pushed by the more hard-line corners of the woke left as part of a broader attempt to reshape societal norms. Yet what stands out most to him isn't just the ideas themselves, it's the silence from the party's senior figures. According to Maher, many longtime leaders understand that some of these claims clash with established science and basic common sense, but they hesitate to speak up. Whether it's fear of internal backlash, public criticism, or political fallout, they choose restraint over confrontation. In doing so, Maher suggests they leave the loudest voices unchecked, allowing questionable ideas to spread further and gain traction. And that, in his view, only deepens the divide and confusion within the party itself.
Because there is no argument here. There's just the sugar rush that the no-contact people get from never coming in second in a I hate Trump the most contest. Really? That's your strategy, to go full high school and tell the guy with all the power he can't sit with you at the lunch table? To borrow a phrase familiar to HBO viewers, you are not serious people.
And that, in Bill Maher's view, is yet another major problem within the Democratic Party, the belief that constant attacks on Donald Trump will somehow secure victory in 2028. Maher argues that this strategy has been tried before, and it hasn't delivered the results they expect. Leading up to the 2024 election cycle, critics repeatedly labeled Trump with extreme terms, hoping it would sway voters. But instead of weakening his support, Maher suggests many Americans grew skeptical of what they saw as over-the-top rhetoric. Rather than engaging voters with fresh ideas or compelling policies, the focus remained locked on attacking one figure. In Maher's eyes, that approach not only failed to persuade undecided voters, but may have hardened divisions even further. He believes the lesson should have been clear by now, yet the party, he argues, seems determined to double down instead of changing course.
I mean, what exactly is the argument? That by talking to Trump, I'll elevate him? Oh my God, don't tell me he could become president. Well, I guess Ma'am Donnie is going to elevate Trump because he went to the White House today, and look who's getting along now. This guy, MBS, was at the White House this week. Biden thought he could cut him off, but a year later he found out he couldn't. There's no perfect way to deal with Trump, but not engaging is for sure nothing.
The modus operandi of the Democratic National Committee, as critics like Bill Maher often argue, has become increasingly insular, one that may sideline those who don't fully align with its worldview. Instead of fostering dialogue or encouraging open debate, he suggests there is a tendency to shut down dissent altogether. If you don't share the same ideals, you're dismissed, sidelined, or ignored, as though exclusion alone will resolve disagreement. But that approach, Maher implies, only deepens division rather than changing minds. A recent example often cited is Sam Harris, who declined an invitation from Donald Trump to visit the White House. Harris objected to certain actions and policies, but Maher's line of thinking suggests that's precisely why engagement matters. If anything, moments of disagreement should open the door to conversation, not close it completely.
Axios wrote a column in August entitled 11 Ways to Influence Trump, based on many interviews with people who have done that. Number 8, get face-to-face. The trick is getting in the room, away from cameras and social media. Trump will say or write horrible things, but rarely in person, one-on-one, where he comes off kinder, more interested, less erratic. Exactly. And there's a bunch of examples of this, most recently the CEO of Intel, who Trump was hating on, but then he met in person and now he's a great guy. Trump was gonna send the National Guard to San Francisco, but somebody talked him out of that. Kim Kardashian, for fuck's sake, convinced him to sign legislation. Don't you get it? Do you really not get it at this point? Everything with him is done through personal relationships. He's a people guy.
Donald Trump secured victory, as critics like Bill Maher often frame it, by focusing on issues that resonated directly with many Americans. Rather than centering his message on broader cultural or ideological shifts, he emphasized concerns people felt in their daily lives, jobs, the economy, and national identity. Supporters argue that this approach allowed him to connect more effectively with voters who felt overlooked or dismissed by traditional political messaging. Instead of attempting to reshape society through abstract or controversial ideas, he kept his rhetoric grounded in themes that were easy to understand and emotionally compelling. By speaking in a direct, unapologetic style, Trump tapped into frustration, pride, and a desire for change. In doing so, he didn't just campaign, he built a narrative that many voters felt reflected their own experiences and concerns.
If anything, we need more people like me having dinner with him. You complain he's surrounded by ass-kissers, but your strategy is to make sure no one but ass-kissers are around him? You are not serious people.
One way to restore faith and vibrancy within the Democratic Party, as voices like Bill Maher often suggest, is by encouraging open dialogue with those who hold dissenting views. Shutting people out may feel decisive, but in reality, it rarely changes minds. Instead, it deepens tension and fuels division. When individuals are dismissed simply for disagreeing, it creates an environment where resentment grows and misunderstandings multiply. Constructive conversation, on the other hand, offers a path forward. By engaging directly with critics and skeptics, leaders have the opportunity to challenge misconceptions, clarify their positions, and even find areas of common ground. Dialogue doesn't mean surrendering core values, it means strengthening them through debate and understanding. If the goal is to rebuild trust and broaden appeal, then listening and responding thoughtfully may prove far more effective than simply shutting opposing voices out altogether.
Perpetuating victimhood, especially when it's false, is not a great advertisement for leadership. Kamala Harris's new memoir of the 24 election is called 107 Days, but it should have been called Everyone Sucks But Me. 107 Days is a victim's title because, get it, she only had 107 days to win. Yeah, and $1.5 billion and a built-in army of about 75 million people who'd vote for any human-adjacent life form that wasn't Trump.
Another point critics like Bill Maher often raise is what they see as a recurring pattern within parts of the Democratic Party, the tendency to focus heavily on external explanations. In this view, setbacks are too often framed as the result of outside forces, opponents, systems, or circumstances, rather than as moments for internal reflection. The problem, Maher suggests, isn't acknowledging real challenges, but allowing that mindset to dominate the conversation. When responsibility is consistently shifted elsewhere, it can come across as evasive. Over time, that message begins to wear thin with voters. People generally respond to accountability, solutions, and forward momentum, not endless explanations of who or what is to blame. By focusing too heavily on grievance, critics argue the party risks sounding disconnected from everyday concerns. A more effective approach, they suggest, would involve balancing awareness of challenges with a stronger emphasis on ownership, practical solutions, and clear, results-driven leadership.
In 107 days, nothing is ever Kamala's fault. Biden lets her down by not stepping down sooner. Pouty face emoji. Gavin Newsom, he was asked for his endorsement, but texted, "Hiking, we'll call back." But then never did. And then he didn't even ask her to prom. America itself lets Kamala down by not being ready for the running mate she really wanted, Pete Buttigieg. So she's stuck with the Home Depot paint salesman. And the rest is herstory. Poor Kamala. We made her the star of a rom-com and didn't even give her a gay best friend.
Critics argue that Kamala Harris struggled to take full ownership after the election loss, instead pointing to external factors while sidestepping deeper internal issues. What is often highlighted is her difficulty in clearly separating her platform from that of Joe Biden, leaving voters unsure about what she uniquely stood for. At the same time, detractors point to a pattern of avoiding high-pressure interviews or responding to tough questions with lengthy, unfocused answers that fail to inspire confidence. Rather than presenting a sharp, well-defined policy agenda, they argue her campaign leaned too heavily on broad messaging and public goodwill, hoping that would carry her to the White House. In a political climate where clarity and conviction matter more than ever, critics say that approach made it harder to connect with undecided voters and ultimately weakened her chances.
Kamala writes that on election night, when it was clear she lost, an aide peeled the words "Madam President" off the cupcakes before handing them out. Oh, geez, that's like a scene from Bridget Jones Runs for President, for Christ's sake.
In the end, Bill Maher delivered a clear and biting critique of the Democratic Party, outlining why he believes they may be out of touch and how they might begin to fix it. First and foremost, he stressed that Democrats need to stop isolating themselves and walling off anyone who holds a different opinion or belief. True progress, he argued, comes from dialogue, not echo chambers. Learning to converse, and even agree to disagree, is the foundation of genuine unity. Maher also pointed out that endlessly demonizing Donald Trump has proven ineffective and will continue to backfire, serving only to energize the opposition. Equally, he criticized the party's perpetual victim mindset, describing it as both exhausting and counterproductive. According to Maher, if Democrats want to regain credibility and influence, they must embrace open conversation, reject self-pity, and focus on actionable solutions instead of theatrics. Only then, he suggested, can they hope to reconnect with the American people. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.